Hi everybody, my name is Jens Larsen. In this video I'm gonna go over 3 different exercises that you can use to make better bebop lines. So all the exercises are in the key of G major, and I'm gonna end up demonstrating how to use these different exercises on 251 in the key of G major. And I think the idea is not so much that these are exercises that you drill and play as fast as possible. It's more stuff that you work through and try to get a little bit used to, and then see them as more compositional tools and stuff you can experiment with when you're coming up with your own lines. But let's just talk about the exercises first. The first exercise is a way of playing diatonic arpeggios. If you analyze some bebop solos from people like Charlie Parker or Dizzy Gillespie, you'll find that very often when they're playing arpeggios, they'll really emphasize the top note, and the way they'll do that is by playing the arpeggio partly as a triplet and also by adding a leading note before the arpeggio. So how this works is if we take a G major 7 arpeggio like this one, and then we're gonna add a leading note, so in this case the chromatic leading note before the first note is gonna be an F sharp. Then we're gonna play 3 notes as a triplet, so we get, and then that's really gonna bring out the top note, so we get this. And if I take that through the scale, it sounds like this. Working on this exercise in position, like I just did, is a really good idea. It's quite the challenge for your right hand also. And another way that you probably want to check this out is to do it along the neck instead. So if I do it on the middle string set, that could be something like this. The second exercise is to add a passing note in between any 2 notes in the major scale. So if we take our G major scale like this, so we have 1 octave of G major. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to add simply a chromatic passing note between any of the notes in there. So if we take between the G, the 2 first notes, so between the G and the A, we can use the G sharp. So we get that exercise. And that's fairly simple. If we do the same between A and B, we're going to use the A sharp. So, and then now we get to the B and the C. Here's a little bit more tricky because we don't actually have a half step in between B and C. But what we can do, and this is something that I picked up from some Barry Harris masterclasses that I went to a long time ago. And what we can do is that we can use the diatonic note that's 1 step above the C. And in the scale that's going to be. And if we add a chromatic leading note in between C and D, then we get this. I think you get the picture of how this works, so I'm not going to cover all the different degrees of the scale. One thing that you could do if you want to take this a little bit further is to start adding passing notes at several places in the scale. If I want to add a chromatic leading note between A and B, and between B and C, then I get this. So in that way you get small melodies that you can already start to incorporate into your playing and see what works. The way I work with these things is that I think of these passing notes as something else than the scale. I know that some people work on bebop scales, which are 7-note scales with a sort of static passing note added. For me that doesn't work that well because I want to use the passing notes as something that's not really a part of the scale, and I want to have the freedom to put them everywhere I want them. And that's why I tend to just stick with a major scale and not work too much on these bebop scales. The third exercise is called octave displacement. So if we take a really simple 251 in the key of G, that could be something like this. First an A minor 7 arpeggio and then a scale run on the D7. That resolves nicely to the 3rd of G major. So a very simple line. The way octave displacement works is that we can actually transpose part of the line an octave, and then we're going to get, with the same notes, a completely different melody. Probably you want to have the displacement not on the beat. So if I displace the high G, this one, down an octave, and then move the melody from there, you get this. So I'm playing the same notes, but I'm getting a different melody out of it. Another place, so this is in an arpeggio, and basically what I'm doing here is I'm kind of creating an inversion of the arpeggio. Another place you can do it is in the scale run, so if I make an octave displacement between the F sharp and the E, you get this line. And you can of course also use 2 octave displacements, then you get this. So as you can tell, this is a great technique to add some larger intervals to your lines, especially if you're already capable of making some strong lines with arpeggios and scale runs. let's start looking at some of the examples that put all these three techniques to use. So in this example, I'm starting off with using the idea of the leading note and the triplet on the arpeggio. So starting on the G sharp and then moving up the A minor 7 arpeggio to the G. From here I continue up the scale, and then I've added a passing note in between the A and the B. So then on the D7 I start on the C, then I'm running down the scale down to the F sharp, and here I'm using octave displacement because the line here is basically just a descending diminished arpeggio. So that's resolved to B, but I'm skipping up, so I'm transposing the E flat up an octave and then resolving to this higher B. So in this example I'm starting off on D, and basically I'm just using the same idea, so the arpeggio with the triplet and the leading note, but now I'm using it from the third of the A minor, so it's from a C major 7. And then we get this phrase, which is in fact using sort of the chromatic leading note between B and C. So since I can't add a note there, I take the one that's diatonically above that, so that's a D. And then I'm moving up to the flat 9 on the D7. And now I'm so high, so the line actually wants to continue up the diminished arpeggio, but I'm doing that by displacing it down an octave first, so, and then descending in the arpeggio again, resolving to the 5th of G major. So in this example I'm again using the C major 7 arpeggio, but now I'm using it an octave lower. So I'm starting on the B and then moving up to the B an octave higher with the C major 7 arpeggio, but then played as a triplet. So, and then we get a small fragment from an E minor pentatonic scale, which works really well to sort of encircle the third of D7, so F sharp here. And then the melody is here using an octave displacement. It could have been this, but instead I move it up an octave, and then we get, and from here I continue with an augmented triad on the D7, so, and then I'm resolving the flat 13 to a 9 on the G major. You probably want to play these exercises and explore them in different positions and work on them to get them into your fingers and get them into your ears. But probably the biggest part of the work is going to be using them to generate some new material that you can add to your vocabulary. That's probably where you're going to get the most out of it. If you want to download a PDF of the examples and the exercises I went over in this video, you can go to my website. There's a PDF download in the article that's accompanying this video. When you're on my website, you can also subscribe to my newsletter if you want to stay up to date with all the stuff that's happening. If there are new things happening on Patreon, if I'm putting something new in my web store, and if I'm playing somewhere or recording something. If this is the first time you see one of my videos, then you can of course also subscribe to my channel. I publish a new lesson every Thursday, and I've been doing it for quite a while, so there's a lot of material on my channel already if you want to check out some stuff on improvising, learning some music theory, and exploring some jazz guitar. If you want to support me in making these videos, you can of course also check out my Patreon page, where there's a small community of people helping me finding the time and the money to keep on making all these videos. If you have any questions or comments on the stuff that I went over in this video, if you have an idea for something I can make a video on, or something that you're looking for a lesson for, then leave a comment on this video or connect with me on social media. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Google+. And it's nice to get some feedback from you guys, and especially it's nice to get some suggestions for stuff I can do videos on. And that's been something that I've used a lot to make videos in the past. So if you have an idea, please let me know. That's about it for this week. Thank you for watching, and until next week.